Good evening and welcome to the Township of Chatham Township Committee meeting for Thursday, October the 27th, 2016. Greg, has adequate notice been given?
Yes, adequate notice of this meeting of the Township Committee was given as required by the Open Public Meetings Act as follows. Notice was given to both the Chatham Courier and the Morris County Daily Record on January 8th, 2016. Notice was posted on the bulletin board in the main hallway of the municipal building on January 8th, 2016. And notice was filed with the Township Clerk on January 8th, 2016.
Thank you. Would you please rise for the flag salute?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Gallup? Here. Mr. Kelly?
Here.
Mrs. Schwartz?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Sullivan?
Here.
Mayor Ritter?
Here. I have a motion to approve the agenda. Are there any questions on the agenda before we move? Motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We'll move on to reports. Mike, you want to start us off?
Okay. Just a quick report, really, from the Open Space Committee. We had the dedication of the Averett Trails last Saturday. Nice group there, and thank you for all the members of the Township Committee who attended, and the different scouts who have helped install the benches and the picnic tables, and now they're going on to plantings. So it's really gathering momentum, and now's a great time of the year for the public to walk there. The leaves are falling, they get the view out over the valley is opening up, and it's a nice new addition to the open space in the township. So Hillside Avenue, just on the top of the hill coming up from the River Road intersection. That's all.
Great, thank you. Bob?
Just on the Pilgrim Pipeline, I handed to each committee person two draft letters, one to our state legislators and one to towns that have not yet passed resolutions to oppose the pipeline, and our joint group is asking each of the municipalities to send these letters out to both the towns that have not yet joined that are on the pipeline trail, and also to our assembly people and senators, again, re-emphasizing our opposition to it. So I think they're pretty straightforward, but just make sure no one had any objection to them before Kurt signs them.
Great. If anyone has any objections, just let me know. Thanks. Karen?
Thank you, Your Honor. I would love to point out to you that Saturday this week at Lafayette Avenue School in the morning, we will be, the Senior Center of the Chathams will be hosting their their shred event. So for all of those who have things that have been piling up, confidential information that require shredding and prudent disposal, please feel free to come by. A $5 donation for a small bag of recycling material, recyclables, I keep saying that, shredding materials is recommended, and the more you bring, the more we would love to have you contribute to the Senior Center. It's a worthy cause and a great service they provide a couple of times a year. That's Saturday morning at Lafayette Avenue School. Our DPW is busy as always. They are gearing up for full-on leaf removal around the town in our public areas, playing fields and parking lots. They've completed the repainting of all of our crosswalks and our winterizing of the rest areas around town, Shunpike, Colony Pool, etc., as well as our irrigation systems. We're continuing to stripe the fields for fall sports and outfitting some of our salting and plowing equipment in anticipation of perhaps even an early storm. And one thing that I noticed over and over about our Department of Public Works is that whenever we hear of a volunteer effort going on around town, our Department of Public Works is always there to make sure that our volunteers have all of their all the manpower that they need. And most recently, we were informed of the upcoming installation of a cupola, a decorative cupola on top of the red brick schoolhouse. Once again, our Department of Public Works has helped in beautifying the red brick schoolhouse as well as assisting in the installation of the cupola, along with our Historical Society and our volunteer fire department, who are going to be the ones bringing the thing up to full height. Whenever our folks are in need, whether it's open space or any other things around town, our public works guys are there to do the heavy lifting. They help around the senior center and our municipal building and everything else. Recently, as much as replacing a broken pipe in our emergency squad parking lot, because we all know how valuable our emergency squad is to us as well. So for all the heavy lifting they do around town, and as much as we value our volunteers, Your Honor, I think that they just do a great job, and we are in their debt. So that's what I got.
Great, thank you. Kevin?
Very good. Thank you. The Historical Society, speaking of which, met last week, and they had another wonderful presentation on the great castles of New Jersey. I have mentioned it before. Some of these presentations are really informative, fascinating. I really welcome everyone to go to Chatham Township Historical Society.org to see the next upcoming presentation. The next meeting will be on November 13th, Saturday, November 13th. Speaker to be determined as we wind down the year at the Red Brick Schoolhouse, which congratulations to all the members of the society there for continuing to try to bring the Red Brick Schoolhouse back to its origins. They are placing a cupola on the top. I guess half of it is up. Just waiting to put the crown on it. Great kudos to Trip von Hoffman and the rest of the Historical Society for making that happen. The library continues to talk about their capital improvement program and what they'd like to do and what they'd like to see with the library. Their continuing efforts to raise money and make the towns aware of what is happening at the library and the transformation that they would like to see take place. So they will be before us at the next meeting to discuss it. Last, the freeholders were in Chatham Township last night. They were at the Great Swamp Outdoor Education Center. They didn't really have much to say, and that's not a knock on the freeholders. They do their work at the morning meeting at 9:30, but they get around to the different towns, and they were coming around to the different parks, so it was an opportunity to go hear what they had to say. The fascinating part of that was delivered by Dave Helmer from the Morris County Park Commission, and obviously it's a Morris County park, 44 acres right here in the Great Swamp, right here in Chatham Township. A wonderful resource. Some of the fascinating information of that is that it served 6,000 school children last year, 81 Girl Scout units, some 2,000 scouts, and last year received 35,000 visitors right here passing through Chatham Township, right on Southern Boulevard, 247 Southern Boulevard. Set back in there. It's just another wonderful resource that sometimes we forget we have right here in the midst of Chatham Township. So I encourage everyone to go check it out.
Great, thank you, Kevin. Just a few items. One is we had a successful domestic violence awareness presentation last week. The replay of the video, for those of you who want to watch it, is on the home site or on the home page of the website. Thanks to Tom again for putting that together. Our new website, after many months of working with the folks at City Connections and the input from the committee and others from our survey from residents and businesses around town, should be launching this weekend for prime time early next week. So look more to come on that. And then just two other community events. The first is Chatham Education Foundation is hosting their annual trivia night next week. I think there's still tables available, I believe. You can go on their website to learn more, ChathamEducationFoundation.com. And then the Turkey Trot, we're hosting our 8th annual Turkey Trot this year on Thanksgiving Day. And if you want to register, you're encouraged to do so before November 8th if you want to receive a race t-shirt, and that's at the ChathamTurkeyTrot.org. John?
Thank you, Mayor. You may have heard the DOT has lifted the stop work order on grants that were issued under the Transportation Trust Fund. So we do have to go ahead to proceed with the Woodland Sidewalk project. Given the timing of the year, my recommendation is to hold off on that bid. We can advertise in the winter, say January, and when contractors are slow, they're in the office, we may get some more competitive bids, and just be ready for an early spring start. I think that's probably, because if we bid now and award, they may not even be ready to start anyway to the spring, so we might as well take advantage of a better bid period. And I also suspect there's probably going to be a lot of projects hitting the street for some road paving, trying to get projects done before the end of the winter, just to the timing. And so I don't want to be advertising and when a slurry of bids may be going out, and then we may not get the interest and number of bids that we want to try to get a competitive price. So my suggestion is to push it off until bid in the winter time. And the contract for wall replacement on Colony Pool and also the Wickham Woods project, it is the same contractor. He was scheduled to mobilize and start some demo work and also some work in Wickham Woods this week, but he did have a delay in mobilization, and he is scheduled to start next week. So with the situation with Colony, you do start to get some concerns regarding pouring concrete in the wintertime. It's still, we're not at a point where I would be concerned that they can't handle the pour with proper blankets and just follow winter requirements. So he'll probably have about a month's worth of work before he may have to shut down, but certainly has time in the spring if he has to finish any portion of the project and just have it ready for the next season. So I don't see a problem at this point. That's all I have to report.
When they do the Colony wall, they're going to take down the fence, or are they going to get the trucks in there, or how's that
They're
going to work?
we have gates on either side, and we had a pre-construction meeting, and he's anticipating going in on the beach side and bringing his trucks in there because he can access the wall, and then just restoring the beach area when he leaves. So we do have certain, discharge, where we replenish the water in the pool, we have certain heads within the beach area. We're getting that marked out, so he avoids that. And he's aware if he damages any of those pipes, he has to repair it. But for access, he's going to be accessing both locations. And then actually pouring the concrete, he talked about getting a concrete pump truck, which is common for doing a wall like this and access. So he'll park that and then just easily access the concrete from the road.
Gotcha. Thanks. Chief?
A quick PSA on Saturday at the high school parking lot. The PBA will host a third annual trunk or treat from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. You can visit the website ctpd.net for more information. Sunday night is mischief night. Believe it or not, a number of residents do become upset when they find toilet paper in their trees the following morning, so I encourage parents, first, to keep your kids at home on Sunday night, and secondly, if they need to go out and throw toilet paper, to do it in your own tree and not the neighbor's tree. Knock on wood, over the past 30 years, it seemed to have quieted down quite a bit, so I'm hoping for the same trend here. The roadway projects that are going on in town, Shumpike is starting tomorrow. We've encouraged them to start at Noe Avenue and work towards the Sullivan Boulevard intersection because we anticipated that the project in the swamp on Long Hill Road would still be going on. Apparently that ended yesterday. So for those people who commute through the swamp to the Morristown area, that roadway is now open. So hopefully the congestion in the morning and the afternoon that we saw on Sullivan Boulevard has dissipated, unless, of course, people have found a new route to work. So that'll be starting tomorrow. Shumpike Road, Green Village Road, we asked them to hold off until the swamp project opens. So I'm assuming, or I'm hoping, that they're going to do the Shumpike portion first, then jump over the Green Village Road. That project's going to go from Shumpike Road to approximately number 245, which is prior to the post office. So hopefully that'll go quick, that'll go well. We asked the contractor who did Sullivan Boulevard for American Water Company wanted to come out this week as well and start their projects, I guess in anticipation of milling and repaving. I was under the impression they were going to mill and repave the entire portion from Woodmont to Fairmont on both sides, except I'm not exactly sure what the agreement is now, if it's just the lane that was opened up to put the pipe in. So that project will start. We're trying not to overlap any of these projects. The contractor is on board to start at 9 o'clock on Shumpike in the morning, and we'll encourage Montana on Sullivan Boulevard once they start to start at 9 a.m. as well, and try to be off by 4:30, for the evening rush hour. So those projects, we're trying to manage those. That'll start tomorrow. One last thing, Take Back New Jersey, we participated with prescription medication drop boxes on Saturday. I can tell you that it was, for us, for the first time that we participated, I considered a huge success because we had roughly 90 pounds of prescription medication that was turned in, and listened to the prosecutor today at a meeting. He told us, the Chiefs Association, that approximately 1,000 pounds were turned in. So, you know, we can take credit for about 10% of what was turned in countywide here in the township. So I just want to remind the residents that we have a box that's in headquarters that's open, I won't say 24/7, normal business hours, Monday through Friday. You can stop in at any time and drop prescription medication, used, unwanted, whatever it is, in the drop box. That's clear as pro. Okay.
Now, are we going to put out alerts for all the construction or the paving?
You know,
jobs?
I put something out on Facebook. I put something out on the website. We sent out an Everbridge. We'll try to update that Everbridge. We don't want to do it daily, but
Yeah.
pretty much once the project starts to change its location, you know, once we get to the intersection of Southern Boulevard and Shumpike, once we jump over to Green Village, we'll try to use it without overusing it to let the motorists know. We're certainly encouraging everyone to just plan a different route.
Yep.
It's a lot easier just to go a different way than to sit and be delayed, especially when you're in a hurry.
Great.
Okay.
Well, Chief, if we're going to have Shunpike and Southern Boulevard being, I know you said you're going to hope that they don't do it simultaneously, that could,
No,
those are our two big
we're on top
roads.
of that. We've asked Montana not to do Southern Boulevard until Shumpike was done, but then we had the swamp closed, so
Right.
we saw the extra traffic coming into town. So our goal is for no detours. Our goal for all these projects are to alternate traffic and shifting lanes so we don't send these cars through any of the wrong neighborhoods again.
Right.
And that doesn't become an issue. So we'll try to manage it. We have plenty of officers scheduled for Shumpike between the township and Madison, so we'll try to get it done as quick as possible. It's a very short window on Shumpike. They think
is.
they can mill it in 2 or 3 days
Right.
and pave it in 2 or 3 days and be out of there. So, but they are up against time now. They've got to pave before it gets too cold, and so they all want to get out here right away and get all these projects done. So we're trying to hold them back as best we can.
Thanks, Chief.
Great. Tom?
Yes, Mayor, I distributed copies to each of you prior to the meeting of the best practices worksheet that the state now requires municipalities to file. This is, I guess, the official kickoff of the next budget cycle. The best practices worksheet is a series of questions that apply to practices during the current fiscal year or calendar year of 2016. The state did make significant changes to the checklist from prior years. Mainly, it's been reduced from 50 questions down to 30. And you'll see, if you jump basically to the last page, the summary page, we score 29 out of 30, or 97%. That consists of 22 questions, 22 of the 30 that we answer yes to, 7 that are not applicable, and 1 that is still a no. And what that has to do with is whether or not we have successfully modified collective bargaining agreements to eliminate any sick leave cash out upon retirement after a certain date. And that is not something that we have accomplished yet with our 2 bargaining units, which are the Teamsters in Public Works and the PBA in the Police Department. But those remain on our list of topics that we are negotiating over, and we are attempting to achieve that. So that's basically it. You can review the questionnaire or the checklist at your leisure. Feel free to give me a call or email if you have any questions about any particular questions. I think it's pretty straightforward. And as I said, we scored 97 out of 100, 97%, which means we do not suffer any loss of state aid. Because
That's the penalty that the state has decided to impose, is that if you don't hit a certain number of points, then you're subject to losing a percentage of your state aid in the last quarter. So it's all good.
Great. Anybody have any questions?
They took out your question about forcing the
They
one.
did. I don't know if,
I
I don't know if it's because of my comment. I would like to think so. For those who are not aware of what Mayor Sullivan is talking about, there had been a question every year about whether or not you require your elected officials to attend training and classes. And I always objected to the question because, you know, in the United States of America, elected officials are not subject to those kinds of tests. You know, there's no mechanism to force you to go. You know, you're encouraged to, and classes are certainly available. Newly elected officials in particular are offered classes through the state of New Jersey. Most of you, I believe, in fact, took advantage of those. But you cannot require elected officials to do those things. If we could, I think we would start at the top in the presidential race and maybe conduct some testing there,
It's all going to be great, don't worry.
at least for one of the candidates.
Thank you, Tom.
Send her an email.
Moving on, we're going to now open up for hearing of citizens. This is an opportunity for any member of the public to be heard about issues which are not topics scheduled for public hearing tonight. To help facilitate an orderly meeting and to permit all to be heard, speakers are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes. Please.
My name is George Stafford. I live at 16 Kitchell Avenue in Wharton, New Jersey, but I'm here as a representative of the New Jersey Highlands Coalition. You may have seen me before. I've been here several times. This is my annual visit to Chatham Township. We have asked in the past for you to consider a resolution supporting the Highlands Water Protection and Planning Act. The Highlands Council, in their meeting last week, sent a request to the state legislature for a water tax, which will be used to compensate those people who claim real estate losses in the Highlands due to the act. This comes in conjunction with a review of the regional master plan, which they had a firm from California perform for them, the review. The review did not indicate that there were any great losses in the Highlands that didn't occur outside the Highlands. Lafayette Township in Sussex County is not inside the Highlands. Andover Township is. People who have farms and raw land in Andover are claiming losses because of the Highlands Act, and the people in Lafayette had the same losses because we had $4 a gallon gasoline, we had the real estate bubble, we had the recession, and we have a change in the real estate market. I mean, anybody who's gone through Morristown or Madison in the last year or so, as you can see that public transportation is the main thing. Well, we don't have that in Lafayette, and we don't have that in Andover, and we don't have that in a lot of places in the Western Highlands. Going on with this claim that there is damages to the Highlands Council will be using that claim, which we debunked, and which originally the people who did the study for them debunked, but have been sort of cajoled into changing their tune, to make changes in the Highlands Act, to allow for more development, to allow for greater development in the protection area of the Highlands, which is vital for groundwater recharge. And right now, despite the fact that we're having a nice rainy day for a change, the groundwater is what we're using. DEP says you get about 35% of your water, 100 million gallons a year from Highland sources, and from various Highland sources. I see Newark and the Passaic Valley Water Commission and all sorts of stuff on that your water company sends through to you. So we'd like you to pass the resolution to support the act, because the act is under attack here, and the changes here, and the changes are, will come downstream to you somewhere in the future. We also have another resolution. every 5 years, the state of New Jersey is supposed to come up with a water master plan, so we know where we are, so we know where the water is coming from, where it's going, who's using it, what's being wasted, et cetera. The last one that was published was in 1996. There was one completed about 6 years ago, and it hasn't been published, and it's sitting there, and it's paid for, and it's done, and DEP is sitting on it. And we have a resolution, which I'll leave with you, that just asks the governor's office and DEP to publish the facts that are out there, so we know what we're doing when we do planning. So those are the two things that I have here. You probably know, but we're well on your side with Pilgrim Pipeline, and will continue to be. There's a role for the Highlands Council, if they will take it, in the fight with the Pilgrim Pipeline, and we will continue to urge them to do that. So I'll leave these. My contact information is here. If you have any questions you'd like me to come back, you can call me or email me, and I'd be happy to do that. I had spoken to your Environmental Commission as well, but I'd be happy to come back to that body or this body if you're interested.
Thank you. Anybody?
If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thanks, George. Yeah, you can leave them with Greg, and we'll take a look at them and make a determination.
I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Coming out. Thank you.
And the Long Hill Road through the swamp is open. I just drove over here on that.
Thank you. Any other citizens wish to come forward? All right, seeing no other folks coming up, we have introduction of ordinance number 2016-19, amending the zoning map and rezoning certain properties on Chestnut Road. So we'll open up for hearing of citizens. No? Just introduction. So motion to approve? Motion to introduce? Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Gallup?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mrs. Schwartz?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sullivan?
Yes.
Mayor Ritter?
Yes.
Public hearing December 1st. We, beyond the fact that we have to give the planning board time to review, and I need to get notice out to, a few hundred people, I need time to get that done. We have one meeting in November 10th, and then December, we currently have the 1st and the 15th.
Great. Thank you, Greg. Moving on to the consent agenda. Do you mind reading that for us?
We have this evening Resolution 2016-201, receipt of reports, 2016-202, approving meeting minutes, 2016-203, approving executive session minutes, 2016-204, refunding overpayment taxes, 2016-205, awarding contract for wet sewage sludge removal, and 2016-206, approving sewer connection for 750 River Road.
Any questions on the consent agenda? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Gallup?
Yes to all.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mrs. Schwartz?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sullivan?
Yes.
Mayor Ritter?
Yes. Moving on, we'll now open it up for another hearing of citizens. Would anyone like to come forward? Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Stuart Carr. I live at 3 Crestwood Drive in Chatham Township. 4 items. Item number 1, household batteries. Used to be household hazardous waste. When I went over to the MUA the other day, I found out that's no longer hazardous waste. So I was wondering if maybe Mr. Chiccarone or somebody else could check and see whether the hazardous waste non-definition is now just because it's more expedient and we could just throw things in the garbage. My sense is, again, I'm a layman, I'm not a scientist or anything, my sense is it's still not good to be throwing batteries in the garbage. Okay, we go over to Target or wherever else and we take our cartridges and put them in a place, a repository. Is there something we can do here, even though it's not required, to perhaps take household batteries and put them someplace would be a better environmentally useful practice as opposed to throwing them in the waste, even though it's not required. I think the feds and the state have all said that it's no longer considered hazardous waste. I'm not sure that's not like leaded to non-leaded gasoline. My suspicion is that the batteries have the same toxicity. It's just that it's more expedient not to do that. So I don't know if there's something we could run down and just run those traps and see if there's anything to do there.
First of all, welcome back. Haven't seen you for a while.
I've been stumbling around.
I don't know the answer to your question as to how that was reclassified, but it's interesting, and I'll look
But
into it.
irrespective of that, is it something where generally it's toxic and therefore
Yeah,
we
I
could
don't
do
know.
it easily?
I don't know.
You know,
It's a question I
have a
haven't heard.
basket someplace.
I'll see what I can find out, and I'll let you know. I think I still have your email address.
Yeah,
so I'll
whatever,
let
we
you
can run
know.
that down. Number 2 item, open space. Just like I happen to be here, it's off term or whatever. We have, again, I guess about 10, 12 years ago, I think pretty much overwhelmingly approved in a referendum or a ballot question or whatever to have a 2-cent mill, whatever it was, open space tax levy on the people, funded depreciation, whatever you want to call it. And every year we keep saying that we're saving the taxpayers money by cutting it back to half a cent or a 1 cent or a quarter cent, whatever it happens to be. I would argue that either we should be doing the 2 cents since the populace said we do want to be taxed on that, specifically going into a pot. It's not like a slush fund, it's a dedicated account. And if the board thinks that perhaps that's not appropriate, then have another public question. Maybe we've changed our mind, maybe people don't want to do that anymore. But I think if people did overwhelmingly say, we want to take 2 cents, put it in there, so if an opportunity arises, we'll have some equity to supplement the debt offering or whatever else for XYZ opportunity, then we had that bigger fund available. So at least consider that. I don't know what the timing is on that, whether it's April or whatever.
I can help you with that. The way that the ordinance is constructed, the Township Committee has the discretion each year and does, in fact, visit that question at budget time. Because the way that it's set up, the tax is set at the 2 cents, and it takes an affirmative action by the Township Committee to reduce it below the 2 cents to whatever they want, whether it's 1.5, 1, half, 0, whatever. So if they don't act, it automatically reverts back to the 2 cents. So that comes up around February as we're doing the annual budget. That becomes part of the discussion as to what the committee wants to do at that time. The referendums that have been held in the past were non-binding, so it always does wind up coming back to the committee to decide on an annual basis what they feel is appropriate.
Understood. And as I said, I'm always off 6 months away from things. I probably won't be here in February because I'll be stumbling around somewhere. So I'm just saying keep it either 6 months late or 6 months early, put that on the tab. But my point again is, irrespective of whether it's a binding or non-binding, there was a question put out. The populace did say we'd like to be taxed at that amount. So the discretionary take it down and say we're saving you money is saying, okay, you pay less on your credit card this month and we're saving you money. It's really not necessarily.
We've had substantial discussion on that issue every year. There are members of the committee who, most of the time they're unanimous. That's one they haven't been unanimous on.
Well, like I said, that's my lobbying 6 months before or after the fact, so if you can keep that in mind. Then the reason I'm here, twofold. One is the Dixie-Dale Farm / affordable housing / generic open space. Back to the open space issue again, the idea of, again, borrowing, say, $25 million, pick a number, 5%, 20 years, about $2 million of annual debt service. It's about $500 average for a $700,000 home. If you talk $100,000, that's 250 acres. If you talk 200,000 an acre, that's 125 acres. That's real money, et cetera. And I guess what I want to do is set the framework, if you folks haven't already, for this whole discussion with this Southern Boulevard corridor, with the skate park issue, potentially affordable housing, with the Dixie-Dale Farm, with other potential options for open space purchases going forward, to make sure that the populace understands that there's a cost to doing this. Again, we dodged the bullet with our friends up here at, what's his name, Giralda, where we got somebody else to spend $12 million. So again, it was a terrific purchase, but I'm saying I don't think we're going to be able to get that kind of money from somebody else going forward. And consequently, if there are opportunities that arise, we should be able to, and I think should be forthright and proactive in taking a look at those opportunities. Because my concern, again, is we end up saying, well, it costs a lot of money, so we don't do it, we'll see what happens, et cetera. Next thing we know, something goes away, and people say, what happened? Again, if you look at the corner of Shunpike and Lewanika, thanks to Susan Hogue and Abigail Fair, that's a very nice-looking area. That could have been 40, 50, 60 houses, okay? And we just take it for granted now. But thanks to Mr. Chickarone and other folks, again, before he got involved in Girarda, did a lot of work to make sure that that's, preserved. So I think there's other opportunities to do that, and I think with this whole Southern Boulevard corridor, that could be the first, domino with the skate park issue with the affordable housing, you've got NOAA, you've got the country club, et cetera. There could be a material change in that corridor over the next 5 or 10 years if we don't watch it, okay? And my thought would be get out in front of that, and if it costs money, like I said, we're not going to find $12 million from somebody else again like we did this time. We may have to actually get out there and spend the money. And if you're talking, again, pick a number, $25 million, it's $500 a household. And if it's $500 for 20 years, that's $10,000. Your present value of that back is $5 or $6 grand. You say, would you have spent $6,000 more for your house to live in Chatham? Answer, probably yes. So I want to make sure that at least we get that out in the forefront in the discussion before it's after the fact, okay? And I know, again, we have this affordable housing thing coming up, which is very, very complex, and it seems like right now it's a little bit tied toward the Dixie-Dale Farm issue, where there's a contract for purchase, I guess, but yet not a closed sale, and that's presumably dependent on changing the zoning from whatever it is to something else to enable the new owner to do more things. The question is whether we at the township have currency to get something and extract something other than just say, let's get a couple bucks for some affordable housing. Okay, so again, think that through. Then another issue connected with that, I'm not averse to affordable housing itself. What I am averse to is the idea of an expanded population, okay? So if we can do something, at least think through whether it's Chatham Hill Apartments or even some more of the Chatham Glen area, what the cost would be to reconfigure existing housing stock and buy that or do something to be able to get that housing stock for the affordable housing, whatever it's defined as going forward. So if we're going to have more people in, it's different people, not more people. Because obviously, if you have more people in, we could live at Hoboken at the extreme, we could have huge population increase. If we want to keep some modicum of what we have right now, there's going to be a cost to us to maintain that, okay? And again, I would like to make sure that we can, get in front of that. And I know this is the discussion that's going to be coming, hitting us in the head here over the next couple of years, and I just want to make sure we're on top of that. A separate issue, I won't call it a side issue, but a separate issue, obviously, is the skate park itself and the separate use that they have right now of the skate park, which is very, very popular. But again, independent of that, just the idea of making sure we can, at the same time, tie in these different issues, but yet not be held hostage, so to speak, to a developer who says, listen, if you let me do this, I'll give you a couple of bucks over here to do, open space, or not open space, but affordable housing. We should be able to, if we have an affordable housing obligation, find out what it would cost and say, we'll buy an apartment or we'll buy the units or whatever we need to do and just spend the money to do it and not do it with a gun to our head because somebody else wants to have a substantial development going forward. So I guess my question is...
If I may, Stu, that's not the way it's going. Nobody's holding a gun to anybody's head.
Understood.
Okay,
I'm using extreme.
it is a complex issue. The things that you're talking about, for example, it's referred to as converting market to affordable with rental units. That is a strategy that is being looked at. In fact, if you go back and you look at the third round plan that we submitted to COA back in 2009 or so, that was a piece of the strategy for satisfying our obligation, was to enter into agreements with apartment owners to convert market rate units to affordable units. So you're not creating any new, but you are, satisfying part of the obligation. So believe me, all of those strategies are on the table. We're looking at everything.
That's appreciated. But like I said, the reason it caught my attention was because we're talking about new units at the Chatham Skate Park. I thought the skate park thing was a good idea, et cetera.
Well, understand, in all likelihood, there's going to be an order from the court that will set some future obligation for the Township of Chatham that will require new, additional affordable housing, not just conversion of existing housing stock. Because it's based on prospective need and present need, and it's, as you know, it's a complicated issue.
But again, to the extent that we can minimize the new and maximize the opportunity for reconfiguring existing stock, that's what I want to make sure we're on top of. And we understand what the cost is.
I think it's safe to say you're preaching to the choir.
That's great. Okay. Appreciate your time then.
Thanks, Sue.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to come forward? All right, seeing no other citizens coming forward, Greg, you want to read our executive session resolution, please?
Resolution 2016 P-16, resolution of the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham in the County of Morris, New Jersey, authorizing conference of the Township Committee with the public excluded. Whereas NJSA 10:4-12 of the Open Public Meetings Act permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances. And whereas the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, Now therefore be it resolved by the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham, County of Morris, State of New Jersey as follows. 1, the public shall be excluded from discussion of the specified subject matter. 2, the general nature of the subject matter to be discussed is as follows. Litigation in the matter of the Township of Chatham for a judgment of compliance of its third round housing element and fair share plan, docket number MRS-L-1659-15, and property acquisition or investment options, open space. 3, it is anticipated that the minutes on the subject matter of the executive session will be made public upon conclusion of the matter under discussion and in any event when appropriate pursuant to NJSA 10:4-7 and 4-13. 4, the committee will come back into regular session and may take further action. 5, the resolution shall take effect immediately.
And do you have a motion to approve?
So moved.
For a second?
Second.
Mr. Gallup?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mrs. Schwartz?
Yes?
Deputy Mayor Sullivan?
Yes.
Mayor Ritter?
Yes.